There are certain pockets you can be aggressive as a buyer.
Right.
I've heard in Mountain Brook, one property got bid up over $250K.
Yeah. But I feel like this market has been different than any other market I've worked in so far. And, despite being busy and having a number of buyers and sellers at any given time, it has not been a cakewalk on either side.
Well, welcome to the Beyond Wealth podcast, Mary Martin Brown. It's been, honestly, you have been on my list to come out here, but you are so busy, such a great agent. I was like, I don't even know if I can ask her.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it. And like we talked about before we got started, I'm like, when you asked me, my schedule was wide open, and the closer we've gotten, the more it's filled up. So I'm glad we made it work.
Yeah, it's funny. We actually both were supposed to be recording like 30 minutes ago,
yep.
and we're here now. We're doing it, so it's great. But I appreciate you. What I love about your business and your business model is you have a lot of listings in several different pockets. You primarily, I think, focus kind of in the Chelsea area and have a lot of expertise. But outside of that, you and your husband are kind of a husband-wife team. Yeah. And you do some flips, and you kind of dabble in a lot of different things. And so you have a depth of knowledge in real estate. You've been doing it for a very long time, and I think you just bring a level of excellence to it. So thank you so much for your time coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to talking about the stats in June and stuff. But I want to, because, we'll dive into the numbers, and those are helpful. But just give me an overall sense of what the last 3 months of business has been like for you. Probably a little bit highs, some lows. You know, I think things are moving, but there's probably been some pockets where you kind of have an understanding. So give me an overview.
Yeah. It has been, interestingly, the last quarter was my most successful quarter to date in real estate, which was, I didn't even realize it while it was happening. I just was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But then when I sat back and looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, what a great quarter. But it did not come without a lot of challenges, new challenges for me. I've been in the business for, this is my 6th year, but I feel like this market has been different than any other market I've worked in so far. And, despite being busy and having a number of buyers and sellers at any given time, it has not been a cakewalk on either side, especially the markets that I'm working in. So I do work primarily along 280 in North Shelby and Chelsea, and it's been tough. I've, my listings have taken longer to sell, and I'm not talking like a year to sell, but, longer than a couple days is longer than what we've been used to for the last few years. And really, we've learned that overpricing is the kiss of death. And, a lot of sellers still have 2021 expectations. And then on the buy side, I have buyers that are out and about looking, and some markets we're having to compete with multiple offers and go above asking and remove contingencies. And then other markets, the seller is begging us to put anything on paper, and we have all kinds of leverage. So it varies on my end, at least from what I've seen. It is truly a neighborhood to neighborhood challenge. It's not an overarching Birmingham market thing. It really just depends on where you're looking, when you're looking, price point you're looking in, what the weather is like that day. I feel like a brand new agent in a lot of ways. Every single client has new challenges that I'm having to adapt to and grow with them on, which keeps me humble and keeps me very busy. But we've learned a lot in the last quarter. And in a lot of ways, it does feel like we're still very much new agents.
It is interesting. I think my experience has been congruent with that. You're having to work harder for the deals, which is not a bad thing. I love working, and I love serving my clients. And I know you do too, but you're having to come up with different strategies for everything. And going back to what you said, neighborhood specific, we work in slightly different pockets, but it is very, very, that's why a good agent, someone who's doing active work, there are certain pockets you can be aggressive as a buyer. Right. And then I've heard in Mountain Brook, I might have mentioned on a different podcast or something, one property got bid up over $250K. $250K over asked. Actually, I think it was an off market.
Oh my gosh. And
they just wanted the lot. Yeah. They literally had stupid money and just wanted the lot. Yep. And price honestly did not matter at that point. And so it's really hard to gauge which pocket, which neighborhood, why is this more desirable than the other? Why does this have multiple offers? And like you said, they're begging me to get a offer. Is it because new construction is just down the road from even these new garden homes that are 5 years old, But you got new construction just down the road offering 3 or 4 or 5%.
You can't compete.
Because they bought down the rate.
Right.
And you can't compete.
You can't.
So I said 3%. You're never seeing 3%.
Yeah, I wish.
But I mean, they're buying down the rate and they're offering about 5 to 6, I think,
They are.
And that's advantageous and makes your buying power more. So I think that's great insight, and I really appreciate there's a lot of nuggets in there. What's up, everybody? Just want to take a brief moment and thank you so much for listening to the Beyond Wealth podcast. The goal is to just help people understand the market here in Birmingham, understand businesses and different things happening, and really promote the amazing city that we live in. And so thank you for listening. As always, it always helps if you can like and subscribe to the content. It helps get it out to more people. And so I'd love if you could do that. And then lastly, if you need an agent to work with you to help you either buy, to sell, if you're an investor, anything like that, please reach out. I'd love to see if it's a good fit for me to serve you. And so thank you for the time, and check out the rest of the episode. So let's just talk about June's numbers. And I'm going to overview the overall scope is kind of bland and very just flatlined. We're going to dive to save more time for the sub-markets. So listeds is up 4.48%. So not crazy. We've seen some higher listings. Solds is only up 0.79%.
Wow.
So inventory just continues to climb and solds are not keeping pace.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. And the medium sales price is only 0.91% higher. So we're not seeing crazy appreciation. Days on market, medium days on market is up 22%, 18 to 22. So from 18 days to 22.
We're seeing that for sure.
And so overall, it's a lot of like pretty flatline numbers. I would expect a little bit more on the medium sales price, a little more appreciation, but we're not seeing it.
Yeah.
And so let's dive into the submarkets, and I think that's when we can kind of have better discussions because of these pockets.
Yeah.
And what is interesting, Vestavia, Homewood, Mountain Brook, we kind of pull those all together. Listings are down 20% and solds are up 12%. Which is very odd.
That is.
And I don't think this market will take huge swings. So I don't know if that's because naturally the school year is starting to wind down and people are like their window of time they kind of know more. It is people move in and out because of schools in those pockets. That could be it. What are your thoughts on
I think that's very interesting. That is definitely a market. I've sold in there over the years here and there, but it is not my wheelhouse by any means, because it is it's competitive. And like you said, a lot of it is driven by schools. A lot of it is driven by who you know. I would be very curious to see the stats on off-market contracts in those areas, especially Mountain Brook. There's just so much word of mouth there. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't even touch the MLS there. So I think we're only getting a small snapshot of what's going on in those markets. But I do think it's very interesting. Like you said, it is very school-driven. But I also just think we're only seeing a small part because it is so tight-lipped in some of those communities.
That's a great, and I don't think I mentioned that as much on this podcast, but this pocket, you're right. These are MLS stats.
Right.
And so I'm only pulling, I'm not going into tax records.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Lord help me every month if I went into tax records.
No.
But I would say, I don't know for a fact, but I would say that at least 20% is happening off market in that pocket.
That's very fair to say.
Those pockets, maybe even higher. And so moving into medium sales price, which this is interesting. We talked about it, how 1 month it jumped up, I think it was 19% on appreciation. Medium sales price is down 10.62%. Once again, I just don't trust, unless that number's really hitting. That's a very odd number.
Yeah.
I think it's just there could have been last year a crazy amount of high sales, and this month it just didn't hit.
Right.
And so that number is not concerning to me. Average days on market, though, is from 18 to 20, and medium days on market is from 4 to 5. But all that to say, it is increasing.
Yeah, It is.
So even in a pocket that we consider very, very hot always, it's slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
Not much, but there's some weakening.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Let's move on to Trussville and Hoover, kind of that pocket. They're separate areas of town. That's good to clarify, but they're kind of about the same price point, give or take. And honestly, now that you're Miss Chelsea over here, I probably should include Chelsea because I feel like Chelsea kind of is that same buyer, same price point. So I'm probably going to, moving forward, change that. But all right, so listings were up 7.69%.
Okay.
And solds is up 2.3.
Okay.
So both are climbing. Medium sales price up 9.5.
Interesting.
Do you have anything that's moved in June in those pockets?
Let's see. I've had a couple of things. I've got a few things under contract that are in Hoover.
Okay.
I did a few deals in Trussville last year. I don't know if I've done much in that area this year. Again, I mean, with me working along 280, that's about as far for me as you can get. But I will say, I think Hoover, you're seeing a lot of growth still happening there, especially with everything that's going on along 150 and Stadium Trace and all of that. There's just so much growth and so many new developments, a lot of new construction. And in Hoover, you've got new construction into the seven figures, and so that's going to increase those price points as well, because you really don't see that kind of new construction price point anywhere else around Birmingham.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So Hoover's got, I mean, you can buy in Hoover for $300,000, or you could buy in Hoover for 1.3, and so there's such a wide range there. There's something for everyone. So, and they've got two different high school systems, so it's just booming and it's continuing to grow. And with all that new construction, I think that's contributing to the increase in sales prices and solds and all of that.
That's a really good insight that it is very diverse on price point.
Yeah.
Because you are seeing these seven-figure homes coming in Hoover, and their luxury and all of it. Top, still great school system, but you also can get a little bit more buying than that luxury home in Mountain Brook. That would honestly probably be $2 million.
Right.
You know, something that's 1.3 is probably 2 in Mountain Brook. Give or take. These are very vague. Right. Don't hold me to it. But that's a really insightful, Mary Martin. I appreciate that. Average days on market is up 33%. And so that's, once again, we're kind of just seeing, and it's funny because it was so extreme. And I've said this multiple times.
Yeah. It
was so extreme to be in a market where 3%, everything was hot.
Right.
Everything from 100K to 1.5 and up was hot because the money was cheaper. Now it's not as hot, and so I think it's hard to compare it to several years ago. It really is. I remember talking to Matthew Gregory, and he was like, I remember I'd flip a house and expect to be on market for 3 months.
Oh, my gosh.
And we're still not there.
Yeah,
I mean, if
now,
you have a good flip, it should get under contract within a month.
Right.
Definitely not weekend of.
Right.
But if it's a solid flip done well, I would expect a contract within a month still, which is not bad.
No, it's not. But when you're used to opening weekend 8 offers, and that's something that has been a big challenge because, for my demographic of clients, the first couple years I was in the business, I was working primarily with first-time home buyers, and they were buying in that market where interest rates were 3%. They were competing against 10 other offers, waiving all kinds of contingencies, all that. Now, a couple years later, those people are ready to upgrade, and they're ready to put their house on the market, and they're expecting the same kind of results with their listing, and it's not like that. So,
yeah, I bought it under this condition.
Right. So isn't that what it's going to be like now? And I hate it because they had the short end of the stick both times. They had no power as the buyer, and now they have a lot less power as the seller. And on my end as an agent, I got the short end of the stick both times as well.
Yeah.
I worked heavily with buyers in the beginning, which meant writing 4, 5, 6 offers for a buyer before they finally won something. And then now I'm working more with sellers, and I'm having to have the conversation of it's not going to sell this weekend.
Right.
I wish it would, but that is not a realistic expectation. And unfortunately, that's a lot of sellers still have that mentality because that was the market they bought it in.
Yeah.
And that's a really unfortunate reality, but I think it kind of paints a picture of, the sort of gridlocked feeling that a lot of buyers, probably across the country, but especially in the Birmingham market, feel is, things aren't selling in a weekend. Interest rates are not where they were. And so they're having a lot of my people who got their very first home with a $1,500 a month mortgage payment are now wanting to upgrade to nothing crazy, but, maybe add a bedroom, add some square footage, move to a better school system, and their mortgage payment's doubling, if not more.
Yeah.
And so they're having to have those hard conversations with each other of like, is it worth it?
Right.
And as a realtor, of course, I'm always like, yeah, sell it, let's go. But, as a human being who's also making those same decisions for my family, real estate is tough right now on both sides of the coin. There's not a clear winner between the buyers and the sellers like there was a couple years ago. And that's been tough.
Yeah. And I agree. I've had several clients where I kind of give them thoughts, but ultimately they have to make the best decision for their family, for their life, and I'm here to facilitate. And you're right. It is, I think in general, home costs coming higher, build costs coming higher, labor's higher. In general, it is making it harder to own a home, to be in the market than it ever probably in history has. I'm sure there are different pockets, but it is definitely a significant time that is hard. Okay, cool. So let's move on to a few other pockets, and then we'll wrap up. Pelham, Helena, Alabaster. Listings are up 1.32, so it's still really low, and solds are down 0.85. This one's an interesting market because oftentimes you will have a lot of new construction as well in this. Hoover kind of has that, and these pockets do as well. And so you'll see these bursts of a ton on market and not. So this is a little bit of a flat line, which is fine. But medium sales price, a negative 0.88, so almost negative a point, which is kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
And then medium's days on market is up 83% from 6 to 11. So overall, the whole market is just, it's stacking up.
Yeah.
It's stacking up.
Yeah.
Adamsville, Centerpoint, Roebuck, and Graysville. Listings is down, which this market has been surplus of listings. So that's interesting. So listings are down.
Okay.
And then we are actually at solds are up 15.38%. And medium sales price is actually a positive at 0.333.
Okay.
Or 0.33. Man, these are interesting stats.
That is very interesting. Yeah.
And then average days on market is up 42%, which is congruent. That market has been weaker since last summer.
Yeah.
Congruently, like I have pulled stats and I've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah.
It has been a weak market. And I'm actually looking at, I actually have a flip in that pocket. And I bought it. We bought it well. That's when you make your money.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah.
But I mean, it's you have to buy it well. And I'm looking at another one right around the corner. It's this one is like a garden home. We talked about how we love the garden home.
We do love a garden home. Yes.
So this one's like a home run.
Yeah.
But this other one is like an older home. And I'm like, I think I'm getting a deal, but I'm still hesitant because of that number.
Yeah, it's a tough market. We've done a lot of flips around there over the years, and we have seen things trend that direction.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of opportunities to flip things in there, as you do too. I'm sure there's so much opportunity in that pocket. But when you look at the numbers, it's like, it's just such a risk. And, would you rather be sitting on a listing in, Pelham or sitting on a listing in Roebuck? That's, there's just different challenges in every market, but we've definitely seen that as well.
Yeah, it is interesting. And then, I'm trying to think of the GC I was talking to, but they were talking about flipping and doing different things. And they were just saying like, they're really, cities are really starting to crack down with home inspectors and being a lot more strict. Like I think we were talking about in Hoover, if you update more than 30%, don't hold me to this. Okay. I hate when I'm like, I hear one piece of information, don't verify for the podcast, and people are, so research it. That is a disclaimer for everything I say, honestly.
Yeah.
But it was a certain percentage, I think it was around 30%. If you're updating more than 30% of the home, all of the home has to come up to energy standards.
Really?
So they were talking about a lot of these tri-levels.
Yeah.
You have to put in a firewall in the garage.
Really?
So what was not having to do that before, now that's $5K of between insulation and drywall and like shoring up all, because there's a lot of systems that are in there that have to be sealed up correctly.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
All of a sudden in an inspection, they're like, no, you got to put in a firewall in your garage.
Well, here's the thing. Devil's advocate. I think there's two sides to that coin. I think it makes it harder for us as flippers because there are certain areas, Center Point being one of them, where like you've got to really be careful with what you're planning to do. But at the same time, we've seen such an increase over the last couple years of everyone thinks they can buy a paintbrush and all of a sudden they're a home flipper. And so I'm kind of like, you know what? Let's weed out some of the amateur hour that's going on, because as someone who not only flips houses, but I have buyers that go and look at flipped homes. I mean, you can walk in and be like, oh my gosh, who in their right mind made this decision and that decision and ignored this and just put a coat of white paint on everything and then list it for $100K more than you bought it for. There's a lot of that going on. And so I do appreciate increasing some standards, but at the same time, there's also, you know as well as I do, a lot of people that are flipping houses that are able to evade a lot of those rules. And get away with it. It doesn't catch up to them. So, it's a very sticky situation flipping around Birmingham. I think a lot of that is due to HGTV and even just TikTok and social media. Everyone thinks they can flip a house now because they've watched someone do it, but they're not seeing all of those things, the nitty gritty, the not glamorous side, the rules and the laws and the inspectors and all that. So, and
when they're not doing it correctly, they're not underwriting it. So their budget, they coming in at 50, and I'm like, no, this is a $70,000 project because I want to do it right. And I know, the guys I bring in that we're going to pull a permit. We're going to do, and then all of a sudden I can't win a property.
Right.
Because I'm like, I'm 20 below everybody else's offer because that's the right offer.
Right.
And I adhere to a kind of a phrase when I get discouraged or whatever and I lose out. I'm just like, I can't outbid stupid.
No.
And like, no offense to whoever who did that.
That's so true,
though.
though.
And I think there is actually, beyond maybe the people who are getting caught or not getting caught or just honestly underwriting poorly, I've heard there's a lot of people flipping who are losing money right now. And so it's just a time to be cautious. Yeah. It's not a time not to not do business. Yeah. This is what we do. Right. But I think the overall scope of everything numbers-wise I've seen, everything I've talked to agents, business is still good, but it is a time to be cautious and find actually a good agent like yourself or me who knows what they're talking about when you approach buying a home, when you approach selling a home, or if you're going to be an investor. Right. And I'm not just saying that for the sake of like promoting our businesses. It's true, though. But it really is. It's so neighborhood specific. You have to know these nuances of the laws that are getting put in and what's getting caught and all these different things. So it's a fun time. It's a fun time.
Never a dull moment.
No, never a dull moment. Overall, though, it's an encouraging time because I think it is refining my craft as an agent and how I can serve. Every day I think every challenge is an opportunity to learn. Yeah. And your skill set through this, 6 months period of this new year and different things, I bet you've grown, vastly than if it wasn't a challenge. Yeah. And vastly if it was the same. Yeah. And so you have a whole new set of tools in your toolbox that you can serve people with. Yeah. And,
I think that, really, we saw a ton of realtors get into the industry during the COVID boom because, frankly, it was easy. The threshold to get your license is, in my opinion, a little low. But also, everyone got their license, and we've seen a very large percentage of those people fall off because things have gotten more difficult. But with the right mentality, like, you should enjoy this kind of challenge because you are, like you said, you're sharpening your craft, you're learning new ways to handle things. And I mean, I've said many times to newer agents, despite being in this is my 6th year now, every single transaction, every single client, every single flip I am learning something new.
Yeah.
And it keeps you humble, but it just goes to show you will never have two transactions that are the same. And you'll never have two flips that are the same. You'll never have two clients whose needs are exactly the same. There's so much nuance, and you've got to be agile and ready to take all of that on if you want to be in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
And if so, then it's kind of thrilling to like, okay, what's the market doing this quarter? You know, like, let's just ride the wave, you know, because if you're going up, you know, it's going to come down, but let's just ride it and then learn in that downward curve, because it'll come back up again. Always.
It will.
Yeah.
So, well, I always say time is our most valuable asset. And for you to just come in, bring your knowledge, if the listeners did not hear the golden nuggets, I don't know what to tell you, because you were dropping them left and right, and I appreciate the knowledge and stuff. So
thanks.
Thanks for the time, and we'll catch you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.